Yeah, it's a dry and wonderful day out there. I like to call it a blue sky day. Well, very often, Eugene, we have the grey ceiling above us, and you've got to use your imagination to discover that there is blue above the grey. But the blue is coming through strongly today. And as I look out the window, the kind of hint of gold in the air, the gold of the rising sun is there. This is Eugene. This is Eugene Andrews, and Eugene is a native of, well, Banbridge would be your home turf, and you're now working with us in Newry.
I work for McCall Signs.
McCall Signs, we often see you out there. Where we don't see you, but it's a passion of yours, is at the low tide mark, wading out into the foam of the ocean in order to do your sea fishing, and that's important because you've now been selected to fish on the national team in the home internationals.
Yeah, we travel now on the 8th of July to North Wales to fish the home nations against England, Scotland and Wales, and that's a 5-day competition, 3 days full competition and 2 days full practice against the top anglers in England, Wales and Scotland.
Wow, and is the competition very stiff?
It is, it's very stiff. It's the competition, that competition has grown big time this last 2 or 3 years now. It is TV programmed now through an internet fishing station.
Yeah.
It will be covered by the big top magazines in the UK.
It's big stuff.
Yeah. So, and it's all sponsored now. This year, it's actually sponsored by a company called Tronics.
Yeah.
Which is actually a Welsh company who actually make fishing tackle for the sea trade.
Yeah.
So they've wanted us to get sponsorship
Sounds
this year
good.
for it.
That sounds good. I always think of the Englishman when he goes fishing, that he is your archetypal fishing nerd. He's there, he's got every piece of kit imaginable, he's very precise, he's sitting down there and he'll do it forever, he's very polite and he just is totally focused on what he's doing. A fairly difficult kind of creature to beat.
They are very hard to beat. England have been the dominant team within the home nations now for the last 3 or 4 years. Ireland have narrowly just been beaten into the silver medal this last 3 years, so hopefully this year we can turn it and we can take the gold medal back home. We have a strong panel this year now. The top 5 anglers that have come out of the 4 provinces of Ireland now makes up a fairly good strong team.
What was the competition like to get onto the team? What had you to do to succeed?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of qualifying involved just to get to that stage. It starts off within your own province, which is Ulster here. You have to fish their closed, what they call the gold medal. The top 5 there makes the Ulster team, and then the Ulster team travels in January to Connacht, and we fished off against the Connacht, Leinster and Munster team, which made a panel of the top 20 for interprovincial.
Yeah.
I finished 6th in that there and made the team.
Wow.
And
it all grew from
it's actually changed this year now. It's actually a new format they've brought in this year. It used to be the winner of the All Ireland Championship, which is called the Jimmy Smith, would have been automatically the captain of the team.
Yeah.
Then you would have had your closed gold medals within the 4 provinces, and the winner of each closed gold medal would have made up the remainder of the team. But this year, this is the first year they changed the format. It's different this year. They make the top 5 of each province actually fish off against each other and trying to make a stronger team.
I understand.
Because for a while there was good anglers that were missing out.
But I see your style of fishing down at the sea, on the loch, down wading out on the shore. I see that style of fishing totally different to what I see in the canal, where a man sits with a long pole and keeps his eyes fixed in staring mode at the float, waiting for it's very, very peaceful, but you're there, you're active, you're moving in and you're casting.
We're always active because a lot of the fishing that I do, we don't wait out a lot. We would wait out to cast and then return back to the shore again.
And would you leave the bait out there?
Oh, the bait
you're
out
out
in
there.
The water, yeah. The bait.
So you're not spinning?
No, it's all bait fishing, so it's a lot of there's a lot of time involved in it.
So obviously your quarry are bottom feeders.
All bottom feeders, yeah. So you have the normal baits that you would see for sea fishing. You'd be using the likes of ragworm, lugworm, maddies, which would be a harbour worm. You have your mackerel baits, your fish baits, all the stuff like that there.
Can I ask you if in the natural world out there, whether the bait like ragworm, is it as prolific there now? Is it as easily got now as it may have been 10 years ago? And is global warming beginning?
It is. I used to dig ragworm in Warren Point. Me and my friend from Newry here, Liam Rice, we used to go off Warren Point and dig ragworm. It's not there now.
It's gone.
Because it's gone, completely wiped out. The mussel boats in Carnarvon Loch have the whole place destroyed.
Yeah, the mussel boats, that's an
Yeah.
interesting observation,
Yeah.
that the mussel boats in Carlingford Loch, because they dredge the bottom,
It's dredged,
have the
yeah.
place
If you walk
destroyed.
out, this week will be a good example now because we're on spring tides for the next few days. If you walked out of Warmpoint and walked out, you'd actually see where it's actually being dragged. I mean, you can see
Yeah.
where the big bucket they have has actually just destroyed the whole seabed.
So this is clearly something that the Environment Minister of the government ought to be taking account of, because Carlingford Loch is the only loch on the east coast of Ireland, maybe the only loch on the entire island of Ireland, that allows fishing for mussels by dredging.
Yeah.
That everywhere else the mussels are hung on ropes from buoys and platforms, and it's a better way of doing it because you preserve the life of the loch.
It is, and I've even noticed that this last while there, the smaller boats are actually even up in dragging the Water Castle, right up, actually out of the estuary and into what I would call the river.
Yeah.
At high water, they're actually up there, and I was trying to find out actually why they're doing up in there.
Yeah.
And what they're actually supposed to be doing is they're dragging mussel seed, small baby mussel seed. and
They
take
would
it-
say
take it back out.
They would say, and I try to understand it, but I'm not sure that I can. The mussel men would say that they seed mussel banks and they only fish on the mussel banks.
Yeah.
But I've dived on that loch, and you know I've seen the barren emptiness of the bed. It's like a
Yeah.
ploughed ocean.
There's no sea fishing at all anywhere within the boundaries of Carnarvon Loch.
That's an interesting point to
we
emphasise.
don't-
There is no sea fishing at all in June 2013 within the bounds of Carlingford Loch, and that's put down to the presence of the mussel dredgers on the loch.
Yeah, there's no feed there for
No
the whole
feed.
fish.
The sort
You
of
might get
feeding-
the odd dogfish off
Yeah.
Warmpoint Pier.
Okay.
That's it. But I'm a local person and I wouldn't go sea fishing to Carnarvon Loch. The only time I would go would be in June, July or August to Green Ore for to get fresh mackerel.
That's a
And
huge
that's,
statement.
that's further on out.
Yeah, that's a
there's,
huge
there's no
statement.
sense even stopping anywhere else
Yeah.
because it is rough ground a lot on the other side of the loch. So it is. But on that, now there is sea trout fishing. You do get the boys spinning with the sea trout.
Aye,
net. There's a lot
the
of sea
trout are returning to the
Yeah, they're
rivers.
always-
Does the sea trout spawn at sea, or does he come in and up the river?
I think the sea trout would spawn at sea.
Yeah.
They would come back and come into the rivers.
Yeah.
The salmon would be the ones that would come up and spawn up the rivers.
Is there a difference between the sea trout and the bass, the sea bass?
Yeah, well, the sea trout would be a game fish more.
Yeah.
You need a license to catch them.
Uh-huh.
The Lochs Agency would have all that
Yeah.
highly regulated. You need a license, you need a rod license. Sea bass, you don't need a rod license because they're a natural sea fish.
Yeah.
But there does be a ban on them from the 15th of May to the 15th of June every year, which the government reckons that is a spawning season. You're not allowed to catch them, you know.
Well, talk to me
But-
about the difference that's occurring to the fish population around our shores as a consequence, perhaps, of global warming. Are you seeing species of fish which would more normally be seen in southern climes, Mediterranean climes even, coming up further north and coming into our waters?
Along the south coast of Ireland now, along the Wexford coast and Cork coast, the last couple of years now, they've got gilt-head bream, which wouldn't be a common species on this side of Ireland. But this last year or two, with the waters warming up, the climates have changed now, they've started actually catching gilt-head breams along Wexford, Cork, Waterford. The Emery's are size limits. When I started sea fishing and you had went to a competition, the size limits would have been like 30 centimetres, which would have been a fairly decent
Very
fish.
decent fish.
Now we're actually fishing for 18 centimetres.
Wow. What's the reason? Is that pollution?
The fish aren't there.
Aren't there?
Overfishing, probably the commercial end of it too. I mean, just the fish just aren't there now. The home internationals now that we were going to in Wales now, the actual size limits is there's no size limit.
No size.
Everything that you catch will count. If you catch a small rockling wrasse or something like that, there, that's only 3 centimetres.
Yeah.
You'll get 3
Yeah.
points.
But it's important to say that you guys, when you're doing your fishing, you get your points, you weigh them, you size them, you identify the species, and you get a point. You get points for all of that, and then you release them again.
The fish is returned back to the water again as quickly as possible. Every angler in the competition has a ruler. The home internationals will be different because it's an international level. There will be a steward behind each angler. If he catches fish, he puts them in the bucket. and that's all he has to do. The stewards do the rest. They do the measuring, the signing, and they put the fish back.
Put it
But
back.
over here at the normal competitions, everyone has a ruler which runs to 45 centimetres. You measure, you take the fish to the next angler beside you in a bucket of water,
Yeah.
which gives the fish the best chance of survival.
I was going to ask you about that, because if you know, when he bites, is it a barbless hook or have you a barb? Is it difficult to get the fish off the hook?
No, it's not. No, it's if you have the right disgorgers and stuff like that there, you can
It's like a
disgorge the
plier
fish.
that
Yeah,
gets it
so you
off
just
and does it.
come in through the back of the gill
And that does it.
They don't use barbless hooks on the sea.
Yeah.
It's mostly coarse fish.
You wouldn't be able to hold the
carp
fish on the
No,
sea because
yeah.
the movement of the ocean, and you wouldn't be able
It
to
would
do
be
that.
more into the
Yeah.
carp and stuff like that.
Of
that can
course.
start using barbless
I
hooks.
remember at Carlingford Marina we had the grey mullet coming in.
They're still there. There
and
is
they just
mullet,
come
yeah.
in gently and
Yeah.
move around the place.
That would be the sort of species that would still be running around
Yeah.
Carnival Loch. There is a lot of grey mullet.
Grey
You
mullet.
get them around Warrenpoint Harbour. Actually, in the harbour itself, where the boats dock,
Yeah.
you would get a lot of mullet in
Mullet.
there. So
Yeah.
they are, but they're very hard to catch.
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
very difficult.
I
to
saw a
fish.
man. I saw a man once on the marina. He was a man from, I think it may have been Greece or somewhere. But there he was, a very tall man, standing on the pontoon with a spear,
Yeah.
watching the mullet, and bang, he would connect, take the mullet out, and bring it back and cook it, have it for his
some
dinner.
people do eat mullet.
Yeah.
Now, when I say there's no fishing in Carnarvon, like, that would be more for the bait end of it, for
Yeah.
bait fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of spinning there, okay, for the sea trout, and then again, people do fish for the mullet
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Because the bait grounds are more or less extinct now, it stops fish from coming in.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we used to do a little bit of fishing off the back of Cologne and them areas there. I mean, off Greencastle and that there. We used to get lots of fish, but nobody seems to go near it anymore now. It doesn't be. I used to go to Green Ore on a Tuesday night.
That's when the mackerel were in.
Yeah, but even we fish all year. There's no close season for us. Like, our good season would be winter time because the water gets a bit colder. You'd have the winter species moving in, and you'd have the whiting, you'd have the coldfish, you'd have the
Mhm.
pollock and the cod moving closer to shore.
Yeah.
But if we had a competition on a Saturday or Sunday, me and my mate Liam used to go down and fish Green Ore on a Tuesday. We used to
Mhm.
call it use up bait night.
Yes.
Because we had the bait, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but you would have had 30, 40 dogfish
Yeah.
off the bend there.
Yeah.
Nobody old shop was in Green Ore
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
but now you'd be
Yeah.
lucky to get 2 or 3 fish. You know what
But
I
I remember in days that were were populated by people who were less wise, they used to land. I'm talking 30 years ago. The boat would come in and land at the pier in Carlingford, and they would disgorge their dogfish and their skate and all the rest of it, and they'd be left in a pile there to rot.
Yeah.
Because we had some very, very foolish fishermen over the years.
It's a few years ago, I go to Wexford every year for the bank holiday in June, and I fish the Hook Head. If you've
Yes.
ever been down there, it's
Yes.
a wonderful place, a lovely part of the country to go whenever the weather's nice.
Mm.
And I've been going down there about 15 years now, fishing the 3-day festival.
Mm.
But 2 years ago, there wasn't a big lot of dogfish showed, and one of the boys said, if you go to Duncannon Pier,
Mm.
you'll see where the dogfish are. And we have a round for a spin.
Yeah.
Baskets and baskets of dogfish taken out of the sea. Some of them still alive and still moving.
It's rotting.
Taking them out for lobster pots.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so that whole Waterford estuary was just completely wiped out
Destroyed.
that year. They were taking them out.
We're dealing with the world of nature very roughly and very foolishly, aren't we?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
last few years now, I've noticed
Yeah.
there now it has.
Would you go night fishing?
We do a lot of night fishing along the Wexford Wicklow beaches there now. Whenever I was involved in the Black Rock Club in Dublin, all their club matches were all night time. They're all 7 to 12. And we would have fished anywhere from Wicklow to close to Wexford.
Mm.
And I haven't joined that club this year now. I've sort of
But it takes on the dimension of a bit of an adventure, because if you're night fishing, you'll bring maybe your Kelly kettle with you, or your Primus, or you'll bring your bits and pieces of victuals to have to sustain you during the time of your fishing, and it becomes, as you say, an adventure.
It's great crack at night time. It's unbelievable how funny a beach can fish. During the day, you're getting nothing on it. You don't
Mm.
even get a bite, and all of a sudden, when it gets dark, it's like flicking a switch.
Yeah,
Then Wicklow beaches are especially.
and the fish come in.
Oh, it's unbelievable through the winter months there. Especially along the Wicklow deep beaches there. If you ever fished along North
Yeah.
Beach, it's during the day I'll catch a few fish, but at night time, all of a sudden, you just run out of bait.
Yeah,
It's the whiting will come in
they're
and
taking
savage.
it.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there you go. Yeah.
But that's the sort of fishing we're involved in. It's called speed fishing
Yeah.
then.
But at times like that, what you catch, you would maybe keep some of it for the pot.
I would take a
pan.
few fish home there now.
Yeah.
The family there would sometimes take a few whiting home and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and they'd have them. They don't eat fish all the time.
Yeah, and whiting is better to take, or coley is better to take than
Cold
cod.
fish. Cold fish are a member of the cod family,
Yeah,
and the white.
but they're more numerous.
Yeah, and along the Wicklow beaches there now, especially at night time there, you get a lot of cod, a lot of rocking as well at night. Rocking are like a slug.
Yeah.
People would, if people seen them, would probably say, ugh.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Ling
but
is a bit like that.
Ling. Well, rocking would be a member of the ling family. There would
Yeah.
be something saying they'd be long, like a ling. They
So,
would.
yeah.
But cold fish are. We have an ass species that has sort of disappeared a wee bit.
Ling.
They're there. No,
Yeah,
no,
cold
cold
fish.
fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're there, but they're very small.
We used to find a lot of them on wrecks when we dived. We dived on the Connemara and the Retriever. We would have dived on the Topaz out in the middle of Dundalk Bay, and you would always have seen the coalfish there.
Yeah,
just
cold fish.
cruising around the wreck and going in between the plates and into the bowels of the ship, you know.
Yeah.
And when we went in to explore, we would always have to take a line in with us, because when you're finning into the hold of the boat and you turn around to come out again, well, of course you've finned up the mud.
Yeah.
And your vision is completely blocked. You cannot exit. You don't know where to go.
You need the rope to
You
get
need to
back
follow
out.
on the rope, you know.
Now, I've done a bit of boat fishing. I've done a bit of boat fishing with Oliver Finnegan. You probably know Oliver.
I know
Oliver,
Oliver, yes,
Oliver,
yes.
and he's taken me out a few times, along with a party who, whenever he's gone out, and he's anchored over the top of the Connemara,
And the
it's not,
Retriever.
it's not too much of it left.
No. Even when I last dived on it quite a few years ago now, there's very little of it.
Yeah,
left,
there's not
you
too
know.
much, and there's not a big lot of life around it. Fish.
No,
wise.
fish life, that is all
No.
changed now. It's all gone. I think the Cunninghams would tell you, the lock pilots, that there's still a good population of lobster down there.
There is, especially on that Greencastle side.
Yeah.
There seems to be more rougher ground, and
Absolutely.
the tide run on the other side of the coast would be way too.
I remember
fast.
when Charlie Hockey, God rest him, was the minister for fisheries and agriculture down there. Charlie brought out a law that said you shall not pick, divers will not take lobsters. And he was getting it all wrong, because the amount of lobsters divers were taking were just minuscule as compared with the undersized lobsters that were being taken by fishermen.
Yeah.
So from that day to this, lobsters have been called around the Irish coast Charlies.
Charlie's very good.
Tell me, how did you get, as we draw to a close, how did you get involved in fishing? It's boyhood days, is it?
It goes a way back. I suppose it's in. It runs in the family. My great uncle Tom, Hack Daly, from Chapel Street,
Yeah.
would have been a fisherman.
Daly of Chapel Street.
Yeah.
That's it. The High Walk.
The Haywalk, yeah. That would
My
be-
uncle Larry, when his mother died, was the one of the family who was raised by Mrs. Daly
Yeah,
in Chapel Street.
that would have been my great grandmother.
So we now know that
Yeah.
your great, well, isn't coincidence the most amazing thing? My uncle Larry Hand, when his mother died, Mrs. Daly raised Larry. The rest of the family were raised in Mary Street. But Mrs. Daly, your great grandmother, raised my uncle Larry.
Yeah.
It's a small
And
world.
the Tom, and the Hack Daly would have been a great character on Chapel Street years ago. He would have took me out to the Crown River and fished out there and done bits and pieces. But then, what I started doing was when I was about 16 or so, they got there. It was more sea fishing. I always had the buzz for salt water. I didn't really like going to the rivers. I have a twin brother, and he actually fishes the river all the time.
Yeah.
And
It's funny that both of you took to the fishing.
yeah, he likes the river end of it, and I like the sea end of it. But local people there I started fishing with would have been the likes of John Honeyford from Bestbrook, Sean McShane, people that I met in the meat factory whenever I worked there as a young fella.
Yeah.
First beats they ever took me to Cushendall,
Oh, that was an
and the
adventure.
two of them never caught a fish, and I caught a wee white on that side.
Hey.
I'll always forget it.
Yeah.
That was the
yeah.
buzz. And then it started off. Then we met my good friend Liam Rice, another cousin, Desmond Daly from Chapel Street, and we used to go every second Sunday. Would never miss the second Sunday. We would have
Yeah.
went to Wicklow beaches,
Wow.
and that was all pleasure fishing. And then we met up with the Dublin fellas. We joined the Black Rock
Yeah.
club in Dublin, and then I
Fantastic.
started getting into the more serious competition end of it now. So we've been more involved in the
Yeah.
competition. But it's been fantastic. You know what I mean? It's been great. I
It's
mean,
not over yet.
no, it's not over yet.
When do you go to Wales?
We travel on Monday, the 8th of July.
8th
Every
of
day.
July
So
to
we'll be there
Wales.
for
And
2 days practice
Yeah.
on the Tuesday and Wednesday, and then it's Thursday, Friday, and the Saturday. I think is the last 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's like an open ceremony on the Monday. So
Yeah.
it's full uniform, and then on the last day, then it's like prize
Prize
ceremony
giving.
and a closing ceremony and a meal. And
Eugene, we
it'll
wish
be
you
good.
well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in. You're a good
Yes,
man.
you're
Thank
more
you.
than welcome.
So we wish you well. That's Eugene preparing to head off to Wales to represent his country in the sea fishing competition in North Wales. And by the sound of him, he's the kind of a man who could do very, very well indeed. And we look forward to hearing of your success when you come back, Eugene. Let it be gold this
Hopefully
year.
we'll have a gold medal.
I think so. I'd be very confident that we might get the gold. I think it's time, Sean, for some music.